Hello there. Welcome to a series where we're going to look at this relatively new tool called Notion. I think we're going to have maybe 4 episodes to start off with, and let's just dive right in. So, what is Notion? Notion, these are sort of my words here, a system to organize and display your ideas, thoughts, tasks, systems, plans, inspiration. If you look on their website, the URL is notion.so. I'm not sure what the SO stands for, but you can see that they say it's an all-in-one workspace. And I will let you sort of poke through this website on your own. It is web-based, so right now I have it in my browser, but you also have mobile apps and also desktop apps for both the Mac and the PC. So let's start by just looking at some examples. I'm just going to switch to a different workspace here, and let's just take a look at what you can do. All right, so here's a class notes list, and this is sort of just sample data, and we can switch to different views. So one of the things with Notion that makes it very powerful is you can have your data and information, but then you can view it in different ways. And I can only show so much through these examples. You kind of have to just poke around and play with it. So here, this is a class, I guess English and art, right? You can give different types, all right? And so let's say you have a new class, you can just type Sci 101. It doesn't detect it, so you can create a new label, okay? You can attach files, you can put dates, okay? So let's take a look. Each row can then open up into more information. So, in looking at this discussion, you can actually open this up. You can keep it in that window or open it up as a page, all right? So let's take a look at this reading list example here. Some things you'll notice along the way, emojis or emoticons, they are very commonly used in Notion just to give it some life. So here you're talking about different things to view. So if you want to just view all, this is sort of the behind the scenes. You can have all these rows of information, then columns of properties, ways to classify your information, and then you have these views. So these are things that they've already created, sort of saying, oh, if something is an article, then let me show this. We're going to get more into the databases later, but this is a gallery type view, so that makes sense. You're looking at articles, you're looking at podcasts, and then each one you can click open, and it is its own page. If it's part of a database, it'll have all the properties, and then you can put all the information here. You can start making a bulleted list. You can make this cool thing called a toggle where you can show and hide, and we'll get into that into the future episodes. All right, let's take a look at another example, a task list here. All right, so here, this is just a basic to-do list. So you can sort of move things around. All right, we can add a new create 101 video. Okay, what have I already done? I don't know, take out trash. All right, and this is called a Kanban board. It's in project management, especially in software. It's sort of how you have all these different cards, okay, in a column, and columns have different categories. And then we could actually switch it up, okay? We could add another property. We could add another property, an area property, right? Or maybe subject area, HR, right? Or maybe you could have management. All right. So again, I think the best way, look at a few examples, but then really just dive in and play with it. They have this exhaustive template list from which I got these examples, and really just look through, and you can get started that way. So let's go back to our outline so I make sure I can cover all the points I wanted to cover here. So you saw some examples, okay? And there's just a lot of people's workflow out there. You can copy and tweak, all right? Or you can build from scratch, all right? The best way to learn is just to do it, and do not get overwhelmed. Some of the users out there have really complex systems, all right? You can get there one day if you want, but just start with the basics, all right? Now that you've seen it, let me just talk through some ways that I like to think about it, okay? It's kind of like Google Docs, Google Sheets, maybe you use Evernote, all right? And so certain elements are there, but it really brings things in. So one way to think about it is you've got the front end. That's how you view the information. You saw that in the example, all right? And that's sort of the surface of what you can see. And then you have the back end. That's the database. That's where all the data and information. And so the question is, all this stuff that lives under the sea, how are you going to call upon it? And that's what you do with the views. Okay, so I'm describing it in these sort of general terms. This might be helpful to you. It might just be better to dive right in. Another way to think about it is it's these flexible, linkable outlines, right? You have the database capability, and then you can classify and organize the information and display it in many, many, many different views. I'm just going to, for fun here, if you type colon and start typing a word, it'll bring up the emoji, all right? Many, many, many views. They talk about blocks. Blocks are the basic units. It's a way to display information, and we're going to talk about that in a future episode. All your sort of standard formatting that you might find in a publishing, Microsoft Word, Google Docs, all right? But you can also easily change things from one to another, rearrange them, or transform them. We're going to talk about the database, all right? And then each entry can be made into a page, so we can share the page very easily. And this just sort of goes back to the beginning. You can think of it as a knowledge base or your own wiki. You can think of it as to-dos or project management, and then also just simple publishing. Okay, closing thoughts. So I think I covered everything. In terms of the pricing plans, especially given right now, May 2020, a lot of apps, they in particular are experiencing growth. And then with a lot of remote work, remote learning, they have been able to upgrade basically everybody. So it used to be that the personal account right here, you used to be limited by the number of amount of information. But right now it's actually free, right? Unlimited. And then if you have an EDU address, you can get this Personal Pro for free for life. And there are other features and things that they're going to build out, but really anybody can give this a try. You can link it with your Google account, or you can create a separate account. Okay, so I think that's that. Let's close out here. You can sort of see it in action. All right, so we saw some examples. I tried to describe some ways to think about it. And in the next episode, we're going to dive into actually sort of more of an orientation, how to use the user interface, and the subsequent ones we'll start building. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.